In this homework example, we're gonna build a summarized profit and loss as you see over here. Now, most important is that you build it so that it's functional for how a profit and loss should actually function. That means the correct formulas, subtotals, and anywhere else necessary. You'll get extra credit if you wanna also make it this pretty. Don't worry if you're not sure how to, because we're gonna go over that really shortly with the answer. Go ahead and pause the video right here and give this a try, then come meet me back whenever you're ready to review the result. Okay, here I have my blank workbook. I'm just gonna zoom in to 130%, and I have my summarized profit and loss minimized so I can study it as I built this out. So the first thing I like to do with spreadsheets is I like to make the padding for the very first column as such. And I like to remove grid lines by hitting Alt-W or hitting the view ribbon and then VG to remove grid lines. Okay, so in cell B1, I'm gonna write profit and loss. And I'm also gonna make this smaller. Now row 2 is gonna be where my dates are gonna go. So I'll just go down to C3 and I'll start typing revenue. I'll skip a line. I'll then write COGS, I'll skip a line again, and I'll write gross profit and gross margin. Okay, then I'll skip another line and I'll write operating expenses, and this is gonna be where each of my operating expenses are gonna go. So I'm going to go over these categories that I created, but whichever you create is totally fine. This will be advertising and marketing, this will be payroll, software, other G&A, professional fees, travel, meals, and entertainment. All right, I'm just gonna select this over here and I wanna indent it. For that, I'll hit Alt-H and then 6. It's gonna be this right over here. And let me do the same thing for gross margin. Okay, let me now finish my P&L by having a net operating income line item, then other income / expense, and then finally net income. Okay, so the revenue line is gonna be where I forecast all of my sales or revenue earned. Cost of goods sold is going to be the cost of those sales, and then gross profit is going to be my very first profitability metric on my profit and loss, showing the difference between revenue and cost of goods sold. Now for my operating expenses, I chose these categories because I find they probably cover just about any business. Almost every business has a sales, marketing, and advertising part of their business. They have headcount, people on their team. They most likely pay for software and just recurring applications. Then other G&A is kind of like a catch-all to me. It could relate to, I don't know, janitor expense or office expenses or taxes and licenses, anything not included in these other buckets. Then I have professional fees. I like to think about that in terms of accounting fees or recruiting fees or legal fees. Then there's travel, meals, and entertainment, pretty self-explanatory. So my net operating income is gonna be my gross profit minus my operating expense. Then other income or expense is going to represent ancillary items in my business, like potentially interest expense or points from credit cards. And then finally, this will be my granddaddy profitability metric, net income. All right, let's just extend this over here. I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger so it's even easier for us to see. And now let's start typing in our dates. I like to always have just a padding column in between dates and accounts. So I'm gonna write 1/31/2025. Then I'm gonna utilize the EO month function, EO month. Now, as you can see, it's asking for a start date, which is 1/31/2025. And then how many months into the future do we wanna go? So I'm just gonna hit 1, which returns a number by default as Excel stores dates as numbers, but that's okay. I'm just gonna copy and paste the formatting. I could just click Format Painter and click this, but I'm really trying not to use the mouse. So I'll press Control-C, then I'll hit Alt-H, V, and then R for formatting. This one right over here. And let's just extend that. Okay, now I can just drag this until I get to December. Let's hit Alt-H-O-I to auto-fit, and 3 more months as such. Also going to freeze panes with Alt-W-F-F. Perfect. Now let's just populate these numbers with zeros. So I'm gonna write 0 for revenue, 0 for COGS. Gross profit is going to be my revenue minus my cost of goods sold. My gross margin, I'm going to say gross profit divided by revenue. But if I do that, you'll notice that I get this scary error, and that's because you can't divide something by 0. So I'll just wrap it around an if error and return 0 otherwise. Okay, now for advertising and marketing and all of these here, I'm gonna write 0 as well. Other income and expense, I'll also rate 0. then net operating income is going to be my gross profit minus my operating expenses. And net income will be my net operating income plus my net other income or expense. And now let's just make this over here sum all the values below. Okay, now we have an official profit and loss built. So if I just type in 10,000 over here, you'll see that my gross profit goes to 10,000, net operating income goes to 10,000, and net income goes to 10,000. If I then type in, let's say 5,000 over here, you'll see that everything gets adjusted. So now that we have a really basic profit and loss, let's just make it a lot more pretty because I can't stand this style right now. So the first thing that I want to do is just change the dates. I'll click on the first date and hold Control Shift to the right. And then I'm going to press Control 1 in order to open up the cell dialog box. I'm going to click on Custom and I want this to read Jan-25. So Jan, the code for that is MMM. And then I'll put a dash, Y, just 2 Ys. If I put 3 or 4 Ys, it'll default to all 4 digits of the year. I'll press OK. All right, that is already starting to look better. Let's bold that. Let's also center it. Alt, H, A, and then C, this right here. OK. Now let's do something about the number formatting. So I'm just going to select this all here, and I'll hit Alt, H, and then K. K is going to convert me to an accounting. And then I will just decrease both as such. All right, let's take this row, pretty much any row that's gonna showcase a total or a calculated metric, and let's bold it. Perfect. Now this should actually be a percentage, and let's add a nice border on these section headings. So I'm just gonna hold down Control and select all of these, and then I'm gonna choose line color. Let's choose this third gray over here. And now I'm gonna select a top and bottom border. All right, looks like it worked. Now the last thing I'm gonna do is just make this a font Poppins and a size 36. And then I'll bold this, and let's actually change the font for this as well. I'm gonna choose FF Pro Text as such, and I'll make it a size 9. All right, now last thing is just to add a little bit of color. So over here, this is part of my brand's colors. I'm gonna click on more colors and I'm gonna paste the unique hex code as such. And I'll do the same for all of these accounts. We could use that same color. All right, now let's copy this to the right. And finally, let's add a nice little banner on the top. I'm just gonna select this. We'll include a little bit of a break. I'll hold down Control. And I am going to just choose the colors again for my brand. Perfect. Looks like our profit and loss is now complete.